Testing an INFJ in the sense of pushing boundaries, questioning their values, or doubting their depth invites consequences that are subtle, often in ways the tester never anticipates. INFJs are masters of discernment. They see beneath the surface of people's intentions and motivations with uncanny precision. When someone tests an INFJ, be it by manipulating, provoking, or deceiving, they are not engaging with someone naive to human behavior. INFJs tend to intuitively read people like books, often long before a person reveals their true self. When you test them, you're not unveiling something hidden or new. You're more likely confirming something they already suspected. And once their intuition is confirmed, their demeanor shifts, quietly, but unmistakably. They withdraw emotionally, often without announcement, and the door you thought was open begins to close. Also, INFJs do not give their trust lightly. They tend to be selective with their inner circle, choosing only those who demonstrate authenticity and integrity. When someone tests them, they interpret it not as curiosity or harmless probing, but as a breach of emotional respect. To test an INFJ is to suggest that their values, intentions, or emotions are not sincere or worthy of belief until proven otherwise. That implication strikes at the heart of their being. Unlike other types who might retaliate outwardly, INFJs internalize such actions deeply, retreating into a realm of introspection where your actions are cataloged and evaluated, not out of spite, but from a place of self-preservation. They also possess what some refer to as the INFJ door slam, a psychological boundary-setting mechanism. When you've pushed them too far, insulted their empathy, or toyed with their trust, they won't explode or create drama. They'll simply disappear from your life, emotionally if not physically. The INFJ door slam is quiet, permanent, and absolute. Once an INFJ decides someone is no longer healthy to be around, no amount of apology or reasoning will reopen that door. And it's not out of bitterness. It's because they've decided, after likely much inner conflict, that their peace is more important than salvaging a relationship that does not honor it. Another reason not to test an INFJ is the sheer emotional gravity they carry. INFJs are rare, often misunderstood, and frequently carry the weight of the world's suffering with them. They care deeply, often too deeply, for causes, people, and ideals. But that depth should not be mistaken for weakness. Their compassion is not passive. It is forged through a constant internal balancing of emotion and logic, empathy and boundary. When tested, this balance tips, and when it does, the result is not fiery retaliation. It's cool, measured attachment, carried out with a kind of moral certainty that is impossible to negotiate with. Testing an INFJ also underestimates their long memory. While they may forgive, they rarely forget. Not in a vengeful way, but in a way that fundamentally alters their view of you. Once they've seen someone's true colors, they don't unsee them. Their internal world reconfigures to accommodate that truth, and the image they once held of you shifts. You may not even know it, but to them, the landscape has changed. They will never look at you the same way again. You should never test an INFJ, because to do so is to misunderstand their purpose in your life. INFJs often appear in people's lives as mentors, quiet supporters, healers, or mirrors. They tend to draw out people's truths, sometimes uncomfortably so, but always in the interest of authenticity and growth. If you test them, you lose the opportunity to grow with them, to be seen in ways you may never be seen again. You lose an advocate, a confidant, a deep soul who wanted to understand you, not judge you. And perhaps that is the greatest tragedy. Not that you tested them, but that you didn't realize what you stood to lose by doing so. An INFJ lives in a world of quiet intensity. They are often several steps ahead of you, in emotional and psychological terms. They may not show it, but they are constantly scanning the emotional atmosphere, tuning into what's being said, and more importantly, what's not. When someone tests them, whether by challenging their loyalty, doubting their perceptions, or trying to provoke a reaction, that person assumes the INFJ is reacting on the surface level. They aren't. The INFJ is calculating far more beneath that calm exterior. Their silence is not emptiness. It's loaded with insight, reflection, and judgment. You may think you've unsettled them, But in reality, they're likely watching you undo your own credibility in real time. INFJs are not confrontational by nature. They often avoid direct conflict, not because they are afraid, but because they find it wasteful or emotionally taxing. They pick their battles carefully and will often let small offenses slide for the sake of harmony. This might give the illusion that they are easily manipulated or overly forgiving. But this assumption is dangerously false. Every slight is weighed, not necessarily in anger, but in clarity. The INFJ is constantly recalibrating where you stand in their inner framework, testing them repeatedly, especially to see how far you can go, is akin to slowly dimming a light that, once extinguished, may never shine for you again. And when they finally do speak up, when they reach their threshold, it is rarely dramatic. It is devastatingly calm. An INFJ's truths, when finally voiced, are razor sharp. They don't argue to wound, but they will tell you precisely what you did, how it affected them, and why you no longer have access to their vulnerability. It's not a scene. It's a reckoning. You won't see it coming, and it won't be easily forgotten. INFJs also carry what many misunderstand as emotional fragility, but is in truth a profound sensitivity. They feel everything. Yours, theirs, the world's. It makes them empathetic, but also extremely discerning. When someone tests this sensitivity, perhaps by mocking their emotions, dismissing their intuition, or exploiting their empathy, they are not hurting someone weak. They are assaulting someone strong enough to feel deeply and still function in a world that often punishes sensitivity. INFJs have spent years learning how to manage their inner storms. When someone tries to stir those waters maliciously, the INFJ doesn't shatter. They shift. And in that shift, they create distance you may never be able to close. INFJs are long game players. While others may act impulsively or emotionally in the heat of the moment, INFJs retreat, think, and plan. They don't seek revenge. They seek understanding. And once they have it, they act with a kind of purposeful finality. That's why testing them can be so disorienting for others. The INFJ response doesn't come when you expect it, and when it does, it's far more thoughtful, intentional, and irrevocable than anything reactive. You realize, too late, that you were never in control of the dynamic. The INFJ was simply giving you the space to reveal who you are.